good morning, everybody. Welcome. Hot Takes Goodman and Haertl. How are you, my friend?
I am good, buddy. Did you stay up and watch all of that game last night?
What do you think? I'm some guy who's like 66 years old and I can't stay up past 9 o'clock at night?
It's tough looking in the mirror for me sometimes, I admit, but I actually made it through the entire game last night.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty darned entertaining, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I thought the storyline at the end of Florida out Houstoning Houston
Right.
was pretty darned interesting. It just was for a defensive game, pretty much from start to finish. It was a very entertaining NCAA championship, I thought.
It was unfortunate that kid could not get off that final shot for this reason. Yeah. It would have made it far more exciting because with the way the game was played, I suppose it's only fitting a defensive play.
Yeah.
I suppose. Although, I don't know, was it really a defensive play? It was more of a mistake than a great defensive play by Florida. However, whether the shot went in or not, it would have been nice to see at least go up and coin flip. Either it goes in or it doesn't go in.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I was a little surprised that they weren't more aggressive getting to the basket. I thought that they would play a little more downhill. They had plenty of time to collect themselves, and they allowed Florida to push them back a little bit, and they never really even got into a position to get a good shot. But be that as it may, I think they were clearly the two best teams in the tournament, and they gave us a game to remember like they were the two best teams in the tournament. So pretty satisfied with it all in all.
Well, I'll tell you what I did watch was something that I don't see from the Nuggets. And hopefully the Nuggets, who didn't play last night, had a chance to watch the game to see what defense actually looks like. And defense can actually get you to a championship game. And that's what I was thinking watching this game, how terrific both teams were pressing the ball, making sure there were not open shots. There were some terrific offensive plays, but the Nuggets defense was on my mind watching both of those teams. With that, I want to tell you about Roller Auction. They're having a terrific auction tomorrow, Wednesday, April 9th. Government fleet vehicles and equipment auction featuring SUVs, sedans, pickups, vans, trailers, and more. Bidding has started at rollerauction.com. Don't forget to go to rollerauction.com to learn about upcoming auctions. Get what you want at the price you want today at Roller Auction. Time now for the lead.
The lead is presented by Smokin' Dave's Barbecue. It is not just the best barbecue in town, it is one of the best restaurants in town. You can find Smokin' Dave's Barbecue off 36th and Pecos.
Bruce, I do not live and die by somebody's mock draft, specifically Mel Kiper Jr., but we are about 2 weeks away from the draft, and his latest mock draft is out, and a lot of it has local implications. And I'm just going to set the table, and then we can dig into whatever we want to eat first on the table. Shedeur Sanders, according to Mel Kiper Jr., and I think you and I are hearing this as well, that despite having a pretty good pro day for Shedeur Sanders, he will not go number 3. It will likely be Abdul Carter, having Sanders slipping all the way to number 9 to the New Orleans Saints. As for the Broncos, Ashton Genty was never going to be an option for them. But now, according to Mel Kiper Jr., and I can see this playing out, Omari Hampton, he, according to Mel Kiper Jr., is not going to be available. Where is he going to go? According to Kiper, number 12 to Dallas. And that would not surprise me at all, simply for this reason. Jerry Jones likes the flash as much as anything else, and he will get it from Omari Hampton, although you can certainly argue he needs a number 2 wide receiver alongside CeeDee Lamb, probably more. Number 14, this has been talked about too, Colston Loveland going to the Colts. Then a new name. It's not a new name for me in terms of watching college football. I know the name Titara McMillan, a wide receiver out of Arizona, but that's where he lands according to Mel Kiper Jr. Do you think the Broncos take a wide receiver at 20, take him at 20, or do you think they trade back because we both know they need a running back for sure in the draft and probably a young tight end, and they don't get either with McMillan?
I think I'd be surprised if that's where they used their 20th pick.
Yeah.
I'm with you. Mel Kiper created a cottage industry, and I give him a lot of credit for that. I don't generally pay much attention to his drafts. However, I do pay attention to Adam Schefter. And yesterday in his podcast, he talked about a potential landing spot for Shedeur Sanders and was going through scenarios. And one of the scenarios he had, and he actually referred to it twice, was maybe changing spots with the 20th pick. And when I heard that, that piqued my interest. I mean, he didn't say anything about the Denver Broncos wanting to deal or move back or accumulate picks, whatever the case may be. But he did, interestingly, and maybe he picked a number out of the air, but my guess is that when he speaks from experience. And so I would probably pay more attention to that than I would, Mel Kiper, Todd McShay when he was doing it, those guys, et cetera, Fielding Yates, et cetera. But no, I would be a little surprised if they went for a receiver like McMillan at the 20th pick. I think that they could use that. If that's the plan, I think that they would probably move down and get more picks.
Well, give me a little bit more meat on that bone. You're saying that Schefter just picked the number 20 out of thin air, and then
I'm not saying anything. I mean, all I'm doing is, when I listen, I gave you basically. He was just talking in general terms about the possibility. He was talking about Shedeur Sanders and his potential landing spot, and he doesn't think that either the Browns or the Giants are a contender for Shedeur Sanders in the current carnation of the first round. But he said, but what's maybe those teams back down a little bit. Maybe they trade at the 20th, move down to the 20th spot. So he brought the 20th spot up a couple of times. I'm not saying it's anything at all other than it made me pay attention to it because Adam Schefter is obviously so deeply connected anywhere in the NFL, but particularly in Denver. So
I got something for you.
Sure.
This just crossed my mind. I don't know why, but my spidey sense says this would not surprise me at all. And it would make sense as well on a lot of different levels. The Cleveland Browns take Travis Hunter, number 2. He has been pretty much been locked in there for about a week. He's the best player in the draft. He's the most versatile player in the draft. He's the best corner in the draft, and he's the best wide receiver in the draft, and he's still not going number 1. And that should tell you the importance of the quarterback position. So let's say, for the sake of argument, Shedeur Sanders starts to free fall. I saw about a week ago or a week and a half ago where Cleveland traded up in a mock draft to take Shedeur Sanders. How sexy and appetizing and titillating would that be to have Travis and Shedeur on the Browns? If we're talking about Adam Schefter saying a team trading up into the first round to get Shedeur, if he free falls, and one mock draft had Cleveland doing it, and they're not taking Shedeur with the number 2 overall pick, that would be something. I'll say this for Shedeur Sanders. Number 9 would be an excellent landing spot for him to New Orleans. Number 1, 2 of the 4 teams in that division are indoor. Then you have pretty good weather teams. And then you have teams that are not very good. And then you don't have to worry about his arm strength anymore. Because playing in cold weather, arm strength comes into play. Granted, if you hope to make the playoffs, I'm guessing at some point during your career, you will have to travel up north. But when you play in a division like the NFC South, I don't think it could be a better landing spot. He would learn behind Derek Carr. And I would much rather be a quarterback for the New Orleans Saints than I would the Cleveland Browns.
I'm with you. I mean, that actually sounds like, and there may be some butthurtness with something like that from the Sanders camp if you go to number 9, but I think it would be a good landing spot for Shedeur Sanders. To me, it seems like a good fit. The Giants are not a good fit. I just not with Russ and Jameis there. I just don't see that. We've talked about that within the last couple of weeks. I just don't think Russ is ready to deed the title to the kingdoms to some other quarterback or to take on a mentoring role at this point in his career. I think he still feels like he's a starter, and more power to him. So why not the Saints? In terms of a fit and a good landing spot and a place that he could play or percolate for a little while, to me, it makes really good sense. I think it would be a very good media spot for him to land in as well. There's a lot of things that make sense about New Orleans, even if Dion and Shedeur might grumble a little bit about falling to number 9 in the draft. At the end of the day, yes, there's a difference in where you're drafted. I mean, I get that in terms of money for a rookie contract and things of that nature, but it's not going to hurt Shedeur Sanders that much, for goodness sakes, if he goes 9. Come on.
Here, I'll ask you, if you were a player, would you rather fall in the draft and lose money, okay? But you fall in the draft to a team, a franchise that is historically pretty good, and lose money? Or would you rather make more money in your first contract and go to a franchise that is historically bad?
Well, you're asking a 66-year-old guy with a totally different sense of perspective now than I would have been at the age of 21 or 22.
Well, go back to 21. Go back to 21 if you can transport yourself with the flux capacitor.
I think that I would have looked for fit. That would be my normal inclination. I don't know if that's through the prism of a lot of years of experience, but my guess is I would have looked or hoped that I had people around me that would be looking out for my long-term fit. Because you know damn good and well, it's the second contract where you make your money, and you want to be in a really good place when you sign that second contract. So, I mean, I would think that that's where I would want to go, but my God, that's so long ago. Who knows?
Getting back to the Broncos and this pick that Kiper has them potentially taking, listening to Sean Payton at the Combine, it doesn't sound like wide receiver is a major priority for him. That's why I would find it hard to believe. Now, if they have this kid graded as their highest graded player, then they might take him. He also, this McMillan kid, also fits what Sean Payton likes in wide receivers.
Yep,
he is a big target. He is 6'4". He'd be great in the red zone. He checks all of those boxes. I'm not saying a wide receiver is a luxury item for the Broncos because they are loaded. Heck, we don't even know if Cortland Sutton's going to show up to training camp. We know what they are hoping out of Marvin Mims. We know what they're hoping out of Vele. We know what we're hoping out of some of their other young wide receivers.
Troy Franklin, right?
Troy Franklin. Are you going to bring in another young wide receiver? I mean, I think trading back, if some of those guys are not available, and then you have the opportunity to look at a Mason Taylor in the second round, a Henderson out of Ohio State, or you ready for this? Mel Kiper Jr. And listen, I have poked fun at him for years as a guy, to your point, started a cottage industry. I think that NFL executives look at all mock drafts anyway as kind of a joke until they get close to the draft.
Right.
Until they get close to the draft, because things change so much. But Kiper has the Broncos in the second round taking Quinshon Judkins, a running back out of Ohio State, not Henderson.
I think Devin Neal is a guy we need to pay attention to as well, out of the University of Kansas. His name in conversations, not directly intense conversations that I've had, but at least casual conversations, his name continues to come up, and that's usually worth something around draft time. Look, and Eric, we've talked about this. I'll underscore it by simply saying, if you are going to move back, this is a year for the Broncos to do it, because
for running back,
for running back, or even for tight end.
No, it's not as deep. Listen, there are about four tight ends that you really, one at the top. Then you have Colston Loveland. Then you go to the Mason Taylors of the world, but there's a drop off there. And I'm not saying it's a 90-degree slope down, but it's tight end is not deep. It's really stacked at number 1. Number 2 is pretty good. Number 3, but then there's a pretty precipitous drop off.
It just depends on how much you. Well, first of all, you've already signed Evan Engram, so you've got a fallback at the tight end position. But if you do like a Ferguson out of Oregon, a Gunnar Helm out of Texas, the kid out of Bowling Green, if you do like that, chances are those guys are available in the second, third round. So my point would still be the same. In a draft where I think you and I agree, and virtually everyone does, running back would probably be the top on the wish list. You can probably fill your needs in the second round. You probably can. You probably, if there's a tight end out there that you like, that you think that you might be able to develop a little bit, that is intriguing with you in some form about his route running or downfield speed or red zone capacity, whatever the case may be for Peyton and Peyton, then this is a good draft to do that. And you know that how George Payton covets draft picks. So if you were going to take a flyer or you were going to put a little bet in on it, it would not surprise me to see the Broncos trade down a little bit for extra draft capital. This is a good year to do that based on the needs that I think that they're looking for.
This is what's interesting about the Broncos draft this year compared to last year, the year before, and so on and so forth, butting up to when they won the Super Bowl. When you look at the Broncos roster outside of running back, you don't look at any position group and say, ooh, they got to get somebody here. It's really only running back or young tight end. That gives them a lot of flexibility to not have to reach for anything. They can maybe draft a starter. Certainly they want to draft a starter at running back. Everything else would probably be for depth unless they luck into a stud in the first round, or they trade back and luck into another stud.
I agree. And I think that that's a really salient point. The flexibility that they have, it's the first time that George Payton has had any degree of flexibility in what they're doing because of what they've done previously in the draft, obviously in free agency, where the roster is right now. They are in a position to kind of to jump up, to jump back, whatever the case may be. They are supplementing a roster that is generally pretty much ready-made, right? I mean, they are now they're adding a piece here, they're adding a piece there, and you're enhancing the possibilities. That's. Hey, look, they haven't had a first and second round pick in the same draft since 2021. They've got it this year. They've got 7 picks. They've got a first and a second round pick. You're going to be able to get good football players, meaningful football players in the first and the second round, or trade down more picks. If this is a draft where they like some things, go ahead and do it. I'll be real. I couldn't really say with certainty what they will do come draft night, to be honest.
Coming up after the break, the Nuggets do not play tonight, but it is still a huge night for the Nuggets. Also, Jamal Murray, will he be back for the playoffs? Gabriel Landeskog, will he be back for the playoffs? I think both will. Which guy is more important to his team? That's next. Everyone has their favorite sports bar. Mine, the Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch in the DTC. Both locations are everything a sports bar should be. An upscale menu with 12 different burgers, outstanding wings, and my favorite, the Philly cheesesteak egg rolls. They've got every game on the NFL Sunday Ticket, MLB Extra Innings, NHL Center Ice, NBA League Pass, plus soccer, rugby, and UFC. Sportsbook is a hangout bar or great for private parties. The Sportsbook Bar and Grill in Highlands Ranch, the DTC, and coming soon to Parker. They are the sports bar.
Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos in Blackhawk have another incredible promotion. They'll be giving away a Ford Bronco Raptor or nearly $30,000 in cash the weekend of May 23rd. Get finalist entries from 10 a.m. until midnight during their daily cash drawings every 45 minutes or by redeeming player points. And all daily cash drawings that don't get picked are eligible for a second chance drawing on Wednesdays, and that can turn into extra cash. Sasquatch and Wildcard Casinos, a family-owned casino that treats you like family.
Everyone has their favorite barbecue spot. Mine, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew. My favorites, slowly smoked ribs, smoked corned beef Reuben, smoked meatloaf with a portobello balsamic cream sauce. Don't forget about Smokin' Dave's 16-hour smoked brisket and pork with one of their 4 homemade barbecue sauces. Great sides, you bet. Barbecue beans made with pork and brisket and their southern corned bake. Man, you gotta try it. Plus, they have amazing non-barbecue entrees on the menu. Go where I go, Smokin' Dave's Barbecue and Brew in North Denver.
Ever wondered where city and county fleet vehicles go when they retire? Now's your chance to find out and score big. Imagine driving away with a great deal on a reliable vehicle. For over 45 years, Roller Auction has been the trusted source for government fleet vehicles and equipment. Trucks, SUVs, sedans, and more, all selling to the highest bidder. Don't miss out. Visit roller.bid/hot takes to get auction updates today. Your next vehicle could be just a click away.
And welcome back to Hot Takes, Goodman and Haertl. If you are into sportsgasms, tonight is your night for a sportsgasm. Because if you are scoreboard watching, tonight is your night. As the Nuggets have a chance to watch TV, there are a lot of very important games that are going to be going on tonight. With that, let's just go down the lineup for you. Would you like me to do the lineup for you, my friend?
Absolutely. I need to know.
Okay. You do need to know. At 5 o'clock, you can start off your sportsgasm with the Grizzlies against the Hornets. That's a 5 o'clock tip. That's a game the Grizzlies should probably win. At 6 o'clock, okay, you get a double header. Timberwolves take on the Bucks. That's at 6. The Lakers take on the Thunder. That's at 6. And if you haven't had enough basketball, the Warriors take on the Suns at 8. All of those games have major implications on the Nuggets. And the reason is when you look at the teams behind the Nuggets, the Warriors, the Timberwolves, and the Grizzlies, all of them have a game in hand, meaning they have one extra game to play. As for the Lakers, they have a 1.5 game lead over the Nuggets. I, for some reason, don't believe that the Lakers are going to be knocked out of that third perch. Do you? And
No.
From what I heard this morning, the Lakers might sit the majority of their starters tonight.
Right. I would say anywhere from 4th to 7th. I guess I could see a scenario where they got to 8th, but 7th would be probably more realistic. I mean, you've got 5 teams or whatever it is with 32 losses right now. The Nuggets happen to have played a game more than most of these teams.
Right.
So everybody's got a game in hand on the Nuggets, who are playing 3 potentially difficult games, Eric. I mean, they got to go to Sacramento. Sacramento's still playing for something. They've got to go to They come home against Memphis. Memphis should be playing with its hair on fire, or if you're Ja Morant, with guns out. And then you finish with Houston. We don't know what Houston's going to be like. They're in the 2-hole. Who knows?
Right.
It may mean absolutely nothing to them at all on Sunday. The Nuggets, the last time they went into Houston just a few weeks ago, played well and won a game against their frontline guys. So you just never know. But I could see a very real scenario here where the Nuggets go 1-2 over the last 3.
Yeah.
Can I see a scenario where they go 2-1? Yeah, I guess. I think it's probably not quite as plausible as 1-2, but we'll have to see. And it would be a precipitous fall if somehow this team ends up in the play-in round. I don't even know how Nuggets Nation would react to that.
I think if they go to the play-in round, Nuggets Nation will start looking immediately at the offseason. Who gets fired? Who gets traded?
Yeah.
I think it'll go straight to that.
I think you're right. And I think there's very little, and excuse me, and I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that there's very little patience right now collectively, and this is hot take-ish. I think Michael Porter Jr. is in danger. I think if there is any way that they could move Jamal Murray, which I don't think they could with the contract that actually either one of them have at this particular point.
Bruce, yeah. I love it, not you, but when fans say, okay, we got to move Michael Porter Jr., we got to move Jamal Murray, we got to get some more three-point shooters, some more defense. You think teams are really saying, ooh, I got to get me some Jamal Murray?
No.
In the last 5 playoff series, including this one upcoming, either missed it or was injured. No one's dying to have that $200 million contract. No one is dying to have Michael Porter Jr.'s deal. Now, I understand he has played more games than Aaron Gordon and Jokic and Murray. I certainly understand that. But you know where his limitations are.
Yes.
And you certainly know he is not worth that type of contract. So what kind of return are you possibly expecting?
I don't think you get any return because I don't think you can move them. I think that's what the thinking would be.
You got to move it for salary. But here's the thing. The salary that you move out, you got to bring back.
Yeah.
So what are you really accomplishing? You're
not accomplishing much of anything, which means you're kind of between the rock and the hard place, whether you're getting rid of Calvin Booth or not. Anyone is going to have to deal with the reality of Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr.'s contract. I made the statement yesterday, and I'll stick to it today. To me, neither one of them have lived up to where their contracts are at this point. I'm not denying Jamal Murray's antics or the way that he played and the way that he helped this team to win a championship. It doesn't happen without him playing at a really high level. Those are all things that you give them their flowers for, right? And that includes Michael Porter Jr. But we're now 3 years later. And where is this franchise moving forward? Well, they're in a very difficult place now because of deals that they've made. In some cases, certainly Jamal Murray's pretty much had to make. Michael Porter Jr. was
right
on Tim Connelly's watch. I questioned it at the time. I certainly question it even still today. But I thought I don't know, Eric. I thought if they could have moved Michael Porter Jr., the trade deadline this year would have been a pretty good time to do it, and they didn't do it, either because they didn't want to do it or they didn't have anyone that was a good trade partner for Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah. See, the one thing I hear about Michael Porter Jr., and I've gotten to know him just a little bit, listen, he wouldn't recognize me on the street, right? He's a really, really nice kid.
Very.
Everybody likes him. He really is genuinely nice. Please, 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 Calvin, tell me that you didn't seriously entertain, that you really did not want to avoid moving Michael Porter Jr. because you like him. Please tell me that's not the case. Because Tim Connelly had that problem too with some of his guys. He liked Will Barton a lot. He liked Gary Harris a lot. To me, there was a difference between Tim Connelly and Calvin Booth. Tim got too close to some of his players. And that's one reason why I think he didn't want to move him. Calvin, to me, seemed to have a little bit more ass, where he'd be like, I'll move you if I don't feel it's going to work. But I can tell you right now, If this ship goes down, and right now it looks like there's a hole in the boat, let's not forget what Calvin Booth said about Nikola Jokic. I am the steward in theory of his legacy. And that's what he will be screaming as the ship is going down, and he's going down with it. He wasn't much of a steward. If it ends the way we hope, it does not end. In the meantime, Gabriel Landeskog, it looks like he could be back for the start of the playoffs next week. Jamal Murray could be back for the start of the playoffs next week. Which team needs its guy the most?
The Nuggets, without question for me. Gabe Landeskog has not been a playing element of the Avs now for 3 years. 200, and I think we're up to like 250 some games through no fault of his own. I'm not saying anything. I'm merely pointing out the numbers. The Avs are made to win with their depth and their prowess, without having to depend on Gabe Landeskog to provide something other than being the captain of the squad, locker room, things of that, which I think he probably is already doing to a degree. It's who Gabe Landeskog is. We don't know whether or not he's going to be the Gabe Landeskog that we last saw hoisting the cup in Tampa. We just don't know. The story is great because of the comeback. We don't know if it's going to be great because of the prowess that he brings with the comeback. But with Jamal Murray, I think that we know that without a good Jamal, this team has no chance. Let me say that again. No chance to move forward in the West, let alone be thinking about a championship in the NBA.
For Gabriel Landeskog, I think, and I'm gonna take what you said, but I'm gonna expand it.
Sure.
Which team needs its guy more? In the short term, it is the Nuggets. In the long term, it's the Avalanche. If Jamal Murray comes back, Nuggets still are not winning a championship. I don't think the Nuggets are getting out of the West. For Gabriel Landeskog, it adds more depth. It adds a guy who is an incredibly talented player. And if he plays at 80%, he layers that depth. They have a legitimate chance to win a Stanley Cup title with Gabriel Landeskog in the lineup. Even without him, I think they have a more than good enough chance. I wouldn't call them a favorite, but I would say that they'd be certainly one of the top 3-4 teams in the West that I would look at. I mean, Winnipeg, Dallas, obviously, I get that. And the Avs first round matchup is
stupid.
Ridiculous.
Stupid. Yeah, just stupid.
But that's the way the NHL does things.
It is. I get it. I mean, okay. It's a shame.
Jamal Murray coming back gets you out of the first round. I don't know if he gets you past the second round. I don't know if it, gets you into the NBA Finals with a win in the Western Conference Final. Because with Jamal Murray on the floor, we have seen what this team looks like defensively. And defensively, they're rotten. Transition defense, they are rotten. Jamal Murray is not a great defender. I'm not going to say he's awful, but he's not great. We know what the Nuggets look like with Jamal Murray on the floor healthy. He can score a lot, not much of a defender, and maybe they're the second or third best team in the West with him. Full strength. Gabriel Landeskog, I mean, you just keep layering down that depth. Where are you going to put Landeskog? Third line? Can you put him on the first line? And then if you put him on the first line, then all that talent just trickles down and you make all those lines even stronger.
Yeah, and he's a good guy in special teams as well, right? So, or at least he has been anyway. So it's intriguing. I mean, it is to me the two main. Well, it's the Nuggets and their future. To me, is the overriding story going into the playoffs. It isn't even can they win a championship. It's what does the future of this franchise look like after the season? what kind of changes are coming for the Nuggets. It's already, to me, that's the path that we're going with the Nuggets. The Avs, to your point, and I'm right on board with you, are still in a championship window. And I think the window's cleaner this year than it's been any time in the last 2 years because of their depth.
Are the Nuggets better because of Russell Westbrook this year? Has he added value?
He has added value, but I don't know. But I don't think he's
Fame value, not Hall of Fame value, not what he used to be value. But has he been a valuable piece to this roster?
Yes, in a relative sense for who they are. Yes, he has been an important piece. I would argue that they have not reached the same levels that they have in any of the last couple of years. So, I mean, the summit has been a lot higher in the last 2 years than it's been this year.
This is why I'm bringing it up. Because who do you want out there, Westbrook or Pickett? Who do you want out there, Westbrook or Strother? Okay?
Yeah.
Quickly, who would you rather have out there?
Oh, I'd rather have Westbrook. I'd rather have Westbrook out there.
So with that, Nikola Jokic is 1-for-1 in player evaluation. He wanted Russell Westbrook. He wanted him. Michael Malone's playing him. You and I both agree I'd rather have Westbrook out there, despite what happened in the Minnesota game, over Pickett and Strother, anybody else you're going to bring off the bench. Right. With that, I know Nikola Jokic loves his ponies. If Nikola Jokic wants to be the man, he needs to stay in Denver. He and his brothers open Calvin Booth's door. All three of them sit down and say, this is what we want. This is what we want. This is what we need. And you know what? I'm not trying to set off fire alarms. Right now, I don't know where the Nuggets turn from here, looking at the two albatrosses they have around their neck with those rosters. Nikola Jokic, he doesn't have the personality to do it. He might say, move me. I'm not going to stick around for this. I am way too good. I am way too good to play these little games here where I am scoring 40, 50 points a night with 15 rebounds and 13 assists. And we've got nothing. Calvin, great job with what you did with KCP and with Bruce Brown. But now this roster is a hot mess. I don't know if I want to be here. He needs to, if he is going to be a superstar in another category, they need to listen to him. He can't just go home and wait it out, no contact, and then just come back with whatever the Nuggets do, whether Booth is back, Malone is back, whatever the roster looks like. He is that type of talent where he should have not only a seat at the table, but maybe you put Stan or Josh at one side of the table, and Nikola gets to sit on the other side, and everybody else sits in between. That's how important he is.
You bring up a very interesting scenario potentially, and I don't think that either one of us would think that Nikola would put the Nuggets' feet to the fire, as it were. But here's where things have gotten to. I think Nuggets Nation at this particular point would at least understand if Nikola Jokic took that tact. I've heard
like
that.
Nolan Arenado did.
Absolutely. Now, there would be people that would never forgive him, and I understand that. That's a fan's prerogative. No problem with that at all. But I do think that there are people out there, sensible people, that would look at the situation and say, well, why would he want to stay here? What have they done around him to make this situation better? What have they done around him to maintain a championship quality team? And the answer is whatever they've done, and we all know what it is, it hasn't worked, period.
Here. Nikola Jokic won a championship, 3 MVPs, should win a 4th, probably won't. He's the best player on the planet. He has more equity in the bank than he knows what to do with. If Jokic left Denver, if he demanded, I'm out, you would have Nuggets fans wearing Jokic jerseys with the new team on the front.
Yep,
That's how
I
much
agree.
he is loved. People would
Yep.
be upset. I get it. And that would be a conversation for another day. Nolan Arenado, all those home runs, all those gold gloves, got them to the playoffs a couple of times. There's not much more he could have done. He could have hit better in the playoffs. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's a bigger roster, 25 players on a roster. Pitching wasn't very good. He did everything that he could. People empathized with him and said, fine, go to St. Louis. Please win a World Series. Carmelo Anthony went to the playoffs every year, got to a Western Conference Finals, but never fulfilled what the fans felt was his potential. With Jokic, the fans will say he reached his potential with us. With Arenado, he reached his potential with us. With Melo, he left half of it on the floor. That's why they're pissed at him. That's why they were not pissed at Arenado and would not be as pissed with Jokic. Disappointed? Yes. Would it be like getting punched in the throat? Yes. Would the Nuggets be a lottery team year in and year out without Jokic? Yes, they would be. But at least Nuggets fans would be rooting for Jokic.
Yeah.
I don't want
That's a good way of putting it.
But you know what? He has the right to walk in there and say, this is a podcast, right? You fucked the whole thing up. Under my watch. That's what you did. Under my watch. Under my watch.
He would be right to say it. Yeah.
What's that?
He would have every he'd be right to say it. I mean, he would be correct. I don't think that that's his style.
I don't think it is.
But can you imagine what this league looks like with, and just for a moment, what if he was with the Knicks or with the Celtics or gasp, the Lakers, or if he was in a truly high exposure place that would immediately elevate any of those teams into championship favorites, not a championship window, championship favorites. And of course, the Celtics are already a defending champion. But can you imagine, if you're talking about legacy, how that changes Nikola Jokic? Because he's probably playing in Eastern or Western Conference championships pretty much every single year. I don't know. I mean, that would be enticing. I don't think it's not what makes him tick, though. And we've seen what makes him tick.
We will find out. We're going to find out this offseason just how involved he wants to get. Personally, I'll be very disappointed if he goes back to Serbia. We don't hear from him again until the start of training camp. I'll be disappointed. This is his team. You can make the case. Let's go back to Jerry Krause. Organizations win championships. Jerry Krause built one hell of a team around Michael Jordan. He did. In this case, Nikola Jokic is the most important person in the franchise. Not to say Michael Jordan wasn't. I'm not saying he will. He has the right to push his weight around. And no one should complain about it.
No. And
again, he's 1-for-1 with Russell Westbrook. He's 1-for-1. That was his guy. And Westbrook has added value. Not Hall of Fame value, but has added value. That is going to do it for us. Hot Takes with Goodman and Haertl. We will go over what happened tonight as that affects the Nuggets heading into the playoffs. And, of course, the Nuggets will play tomorrow night. So a lot to look forward to. More on the NFL draft. Bruce, Alex, have a great morning. Until then, make the best possible morning you can.